Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter.
Raj, Nushrratt, it's nice to see you guys. Looking at y'all in the same frame, this is strange because so far everyone's been in their own little boxes. So I see that little bit of that social distancing is changing. I'm guessing y'all just took off the masks just during the interviews, right?
Everything behind the screen, mask, sanitizer, everything.
Yeah. Your new film Chhalaang, it gives off this really sweet, nostalgic kind of feel for a time gone by. For one's school days. It's hard not to think back of the days and the years one spent in school when one looks at that trailer. Did it take you back to those times when y'all first read the script or when y'all were shooting the film?
For me, yes, certainly. Because the film is set in Haryana and I've studied in Haryana. So my schooling happened in Haryana. So I have seen this world very closely. I've seen teachers like Montu. I've seen computer science teachers like Nilima, and I've seen these kids also. Some are really like smart, and some are like really always going out and doing some mischief here and there, and some are very very studious. So I was very familiar with this world, and it took me back to my school days. Actually a couple of my school friends also dropped in for a few days because when we were shooting there and they wanted to see, and they're like, "Ye to apne woi PT teacher hai yaar." So it was pretty nostalgic.
For you, Nushrratt?
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think it's the kids around us that made it like that. We had a bunch of really naughty kids, but extremely talented and full of energy. Like, so, I mean, if it was 4 o'clock in the morning, we didn't feel like it was 4 a.m. It felt like it was 9, 10 a.m. and they're full of life and they're jumping and I'm like, thand hai, garmi hai, it doesn't matter to them. They're at the same energy level, and I think that's what made us feel like we were children again, and that we've actually come back to school because the kids were just really alive around us. So yeah.
But what was it in this script that made you want to be a part of this? What made you feel like this is a story worth telling?
I think for me the reason that we haven't really seen a children's film in a very long time, and also a story about a PT teacher. PT teacher plays a very important part in all our lives. We all have had PT teachers, but nobody knows what happens in their life. Nobody takes
Because I love that bit in the trailer which says those who can't do, they teach. Those who can't teach PT.
Well, maybe not in every case, but yeah, it happens as well. So for me, the story got me excited that here's the world about a PT teacher, about sports, and I'm very fascinated when it comes to sports. I always wanted to do a sports film. So I think the fact that it was a sports comedy and about a PT teacher and set in Haryana and the world that I'm very familiar with, and I know this world very well. And then Hansal sir directing it and Love Sir has written the script. So I think it was just a great marriage of so many people coming together and putting out this beautiful film.
I think for me, this film, when I read it and when I went through it, it had a very strong sort of underlining fight, which I think every sports field has, because there is a certain level of competition there. But here it was more about how, so when Lima comes into the school, she's obviously very connected to children, so which is why she chooses to be a teacher. And she comes across this teacher who's actually a child. And she takes to him and she wants to now nurture him into becoming a man of himself. Like, hi, you should, like how children, we tell them you should have an ambition, you should have a dream and you should work towards it. She's kind of telling him to go there. So I found it very fascinating that I'm not just doing that for children, but I'm also finding a man who I feel has lost his way somewhere and he needs to be put back on track. And it really made me feel that it's such a sweet, simple story, but it has such a great impact for not only a child who's in school, but also a man who maybe didn't realize it his entire life till now. So that, for me, that was very interesting to play. Also, I've not done a film like this before. I haven't done a small town girl speaking Haryanvi, never. I'm born and brought up in Bombay. I don't know anything about Haryanvi. So I think that was my stressful point, and Raj and Hansal sir and all coached me and got me through it.
Raj, I want to ask you, it's so easy. I mean, since, the industry is making so many films that are set in the real India, this has replaced what used to be, those NRI set stories where it almost felt like they could be variations of each other. I mean, it's very easy for it to look like these characters are cut from a similar cloth. The character that you play in a Stree, the character that you play in a Bareli Ki Barfi, the character you play in a Chhalaang. what's the responsibility and how do you make sure, Raj, that these characters, because there are moments you look at the trailer and there's that moment where you're putting on the sweater and you're putting on the shades and you're going out, and that could be a moment from any of these films. How do you make sure, Raj, as an actor, to separate these and to make each of these their own characters? I know that, of course, a large part of it is what's on paper because they're written differently, but so that they don't sound and look the same. And is that something that you're conscious of? Because we're making so many of these small town set stories.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it is my responsibility because I've been playing a couple of small town characters in my last films, and I know I can't make them, as you said, I can't make them sound and look similar because it would get very boring for me and as well as for you guys and the audiences. So I try and bring in something new to my characters, whether it's the accent change or it's the body language had to be different, or the way, of course, the stories are always different, the circumstances are different, so that is there. But when you see it from a broader lens, you would see that it's a different character, it's a different story. But of course, there are moments like I'm trying two jackets, and if Vicky from Street trying two jackets, so there's not really much I can do different in trying a jacket. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a couple of moments which, of course, you will find some similarity. But of course, the internal process is very different. Like the reason why he's trying the jacket and why Vicky's trying the jacket, the internal conflict that is going on, or the whatever the reasoning, the motivation, that is very different. So I think if that comes across on screen, that's my win, and that's how I see it. That because all these characters are born and raised in different circumstances, and they're different people, they're different individuals. So that's how my backstory goes. That's how my backstory works. That he's not from Bhopal, he's from Haryana, he's from Jhajjar, and he is a different guy. Maybe sometimes it can happen, the energies can be similar, like how two people have similar energies, but they are different characters. So you can't really try and make them look similar. So that's what I try through my body language or through my language, the accent, the costume, the environment. I try. I sincerely try.
Nushrratt, you said that there was that little bit of a stress factor because you haven't played this kind of character, and I get what you mean. I mean, you played mostly these sort of city slick girls. Also, Raj, I mean, did she seem like she was stressed to be in this kind of setup? I mean, you've given him credit for kind of bombing you into it, Raj. But what? I mean, did y'all know each other? I mean, you did LSD, but y'all didn't work together. I mean, y'all didn't have scenes together, right?
But we've been friends for a long time. I've known Nushrratt for a very long time, and I've always believed in her talent. And I know she is a really talented actor. And when she was offered Chhalaang, she worked really hard for it, to get the accent right. And she would be on my she would
Head.
just be on my head throughout. Ke, "Raj, ye wali line ek baar bol ke dikha, bol ke dikha," and she had a language coach as well. So she just wanted to get it right, and not and she didn't want people to remind them of her earlier work, which I think is a big challenge for her because she is breaking stereotypes here. She is coming out in a different form, in a different avatar, with a different character. So I think and she gave her everything for this part.
But was it hard, Nushrratt? I mean, to kind of get into the space of this, get into the headspace of this woman.
It was definitely hard. I think I get nervous a lot. I put too much pressure on myself. I critique myself more than I guess the director or co-actors would. I remember the first scene on the film, and they chose to start the film with that, and they put me right on the spot, and I don't know how that scene is going to turn out. So it was me, Raj, and all the characters of the film, all the main characters there. So all senior actors who are really, really good actors, and I look up to them, and I'm like, and there's one long dialogue only of mine in Haryana. And I'm holding on to that chair and I'm like, why is this the opening scene? Why can't you ease me into it? And I can't even tell you how many takes I've taken of that. I kept getting stuck. Every single person realized that, okay, she's really intimidated by the whole situation. And I think that was my toughest scene, was my first scene, because I just didn't know how to get through that. But yeah, I feel like if I don't have that nervous energy, I don't push myself to break that. There's one thing, which same thing I think what you asked Raj, is that do you sometimes feel like you go back to, in my case, the safety net? Because Rajiv, expressions utne hi hai, emotions utne hi hai. You sometimes tend to go back to what you are as a person and react the same way, and you forget what your character would react like. I think just being aware of that is the only truth there is in performance. Is to be aware that I have not gone back on my safety net, but I am actually doing what the character truly is. वो एक समझ ना करने 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 पे आती है. It's not, I don't think anybody can teach you that. I don't think you can only do it on the spot. Like, it's, for me, acting is learning on the job, learning on the field. And I put myself on the field that अच्छा मैं आ गई, अब मुझे हरियाणवी नहीं आती, मुझे ये नहीं आता, मेरे को तो कंप्यूटर का साइंस भी नहीं आता, बट मुझे सीखना सब कुछ है. So अब आप करवाओ, I'll put myself through the fire and I want to emerge out of it. Like, let's do this. So yeah, that.
Working together. I mean, Raj, I know we've spoken about this in the past, and we've spoken about how important it is to have a co-star that you can feed off, whose energy you can feed off. I mean, was there that kind of comfort, especially with someone who's herself admitting, and very sweetly, I think, that she came in a little bit intimidated, that she didn't walk in kind of owning the set. I mean, is there that comfort where you can tell her that, Nushrratt, do it this way, or you're not doing this right? And Nushrratt, was that, because of course you want that, but on a set there are egos, and everyone's fragile and everyone's vulnerable on a set. Did you all have that level of comfort where you could be completely honest to each other?
No, I think, which is why I love being a part of, I'm proud of the films that I've been part of, because the whole team in my every film has not had that ego. Because I think on a larger scale, we know the goal we're trying to achieve, we see the bigger picture. And if Raj is saying something to me, it's for the better of the film. So I don't think it comes to me directly. And I have gone to him after every take and I'm like, कैसा था? Batana, please, Raj, batana.
But what have we told you? ये तो बकवास था. Like, I mean, that would hurt, na?
I've gone to Hansal sir, सुनो ना, एक और करो ना, please. मैं कुछ और नया try करती हूँ. आप नया देखो ना कुछ. I've done that because I'm like, Raj, क्या? There was one dialogue, remember the one that you said थोड़ा negative आ गया. कुछ तो था, एक dialogue था. Where he said नहीं, इसमें थोड़ा ना sweet हो सकती है, तो negative हो गई. I've gone and fought. I'm like, एक और take कर लो, please sir. मैं कुछ try करती हूँ. So I don't have an ego in that at all, ever. I just feel like it'll. He sees it differently, and maybe that will make me do it differently. So it's an add-on for me.
I don't think you can have an ego on set because you don't know everything. You're also constantly learning. And for me, what happens is most of my film sets, I always tell my co-actors, be there for me. If you ever think that there's something I'm doing wrong or I can do it better, please tell me. And then it becomes vice versa. That they also say same goes for you. If you think there's something I can do better, but I don't cross my boundaries. If somebody asks me that what do you think? Was it okay? Then for the betterment of the scene, of course, I try and discuss and say whatever can be done, maybe the other way. But for that, I think the director is there, and in our case, of course, Hansal sir is a bona fide director, and he knows better than all of us. So we were very, very comfortable with each other. We were there for each other. We were supporting each other, and we are really good friends. We really gel really very well.
Like, I remember this first scene, the same scene that we did. Raj has a thing of when he's doing his closes, he likes to look into the eyes of the actor, which is correct because you shouldn't look at a stand or a placard or like a white tape strip. So, and that was my same first scene. And now we're doing Raj's closes, and he had to look a little lower for me because of the angle, and it meant that I would have to sit on the floor. So he was like, Nushrratt, I'm like, yeah, don't worry. So I threw the stool out and I sat on the floor and I went full low like that. I said, yeah, now you can see me. Okay, now I'm eye-lined. So I think he was a little conscious कि मैं बोलूँ नहीं बोलूँ कि हाई सुन थोड़ा लो आ जा ज़मीन पे ही बैठ जा मैं बैठ ही गई मैंने कहा हाँ no problem. So I think that's just that it just comes.
Right.
I didn't have it or you don't, and we thankfully had it.
Yeah.
So.
Raj, this is the 5th film with Hansal. You all did Shahid, you all did City Lights, you all did Mehta, and you all did Aligarh. You all did Bose as well. And all of those films, if you think about it, Raj, were sort of based on, I mean, certainly 3 out of those 4 were based on real people. They were all tragic stories. Is this your holiday movie with Hansal? I mean, did this feel, because this is not really the kind of film that one associates with Hansal, unless you know his career long enough to know that he's done a sex comedy once. He's done Dil Mein Mat Le Yaar also.
Yeah.
Did this feel like I mean, especially for you, Raj, because you all have been on those kind of sets, did this feel like the happiest film you all made together?
Certainly, I think it is definitely the happiest film that we have made together, and it was like a family get together, and also especially working in Love Stars Productions, it's so much fun. There was never any stress. It's like going out, on a holidays, and also you're making that film with a lot of sincerity. Of course, when you work, But apart from that, it's like, everybody sitting together, chilling together, eating together, and spending all the time together.
They cook on set.
They
Some
cook,
people get together
yeah.
and they actually
Yeah, they used to cook for us. So it's so much fun. But with Hansal sir, I think of course I share that comfort with him, and I trust him a lot as a director. So I knew that I'm in safe hands.
Have you all gone back to work, to shooting? I know, Raj, you start shooting soon in Chandigarh, and there's a second, you have already announced Badhai Do. Nushrratt, is there a sense of anxiety about, is there a sense of nervousness? I mean, there is, we're not fully normal, and yet it's important to go back and create a sort of normalcy. Is there a little bit of anxiety about that?
This much, that much. I am shit scared. I went into shooting for a show yesterday for integration, and I couldn't walk into the vanity. I was just so scared. I said, hi, is everything sanitized? Can I see the gun? Can I see the spray? Can I see the mask? Because obviously you can't see it, right? You don't know if it's, I mean, gandagi hai to aap saaf kar doge, but how do you know it's there or not there? How much do you keep sanitizing? It's just, so it was really daunting. And I start shooting a film in November, which is the first thing I'm going to shoot since COVID has happened. And I don't know how I'm going to do this. I think I'll have to forget that it exists, because otherwise I won't be able to do what I have to do. So it's very, very scary, truthfully.
No, for me also, I'm equally paranoid. I make sure everything is sanitized, be it my shoes, be it my costume, be the chair that I'm sitting on, and I'm being very, very careful. Things are not going back to normal. Things are not normal. Things are pretty bad. So we have to be, we should know that. Just because people are out there working, and they have to, of course, we have to run our economy, but one needs to be really careful about it. It's still there. It's very much there.
It's going to look a little strange, right? Your cameraman and your assistants in masks on a set. Like, you guys are going to be the only guys who are not going to be wearing masks on the set.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't hug people. You can't hug old friends. You have to just go do a fist bump. And if somebody by mistake also brushes you, like, oh, somebody touched me.
Yeah.
It's a very weird feeling.
Yeah, so we gotta tell people get closer, and that was the point. And now we're just saying, no, why don't you just stay away? Like, it's quite weird.
Well, hopefully we will find a sense of normalcy, and hopefully things will go back to the way that they were sooner rather than later. Yeah. But thank you. It's a lovely trailer. Cannot wait to watch Chhalaang. All the best to both of you. Looking forward to watching the film in November. Thank you.
Lovely talking to you like always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.